I couldn't believe the nerve of some people. Picture this. I'd been grinding away in the bustling city for 6 long months, handling endless video calls and tight deadlines as a graphic designer. Finally, I headed back to my grandpa's old cabin nestled in the misty hills of the Pacific Northwest. It was early May, the kind of crisp spring morning where the fog clings to the evergreens and the air smells like fresh rain on pine needles. I was craving that quiet escape, the sound of birds chirping instead of traffic horns. But as I pulled up the gravel driveway, my heart sank. The yard was a wild mess, weeds choking everything, my trail cam dangling like it had been smacked with a rock, and worst of all, a shiny red padlock clamped on my water pump with a stern notice slapped beside it. HOA violation 32 to 2023. Contact President Victoria Lang for reactivation. I stood there, fuming, reading it out loud in disbelief. This was my land, inherited from Grandpa Jack, who'd built the place with his own hands back in the 60s. I'd been paying the bills on that spring-fed system since I was in my 20s. Who gave this HOA busybody the right to lock me out of my own water? It felt like a slap in the face, like coming home to find a stranger had bolted your door shut. Before I could even grab my tools, I heard boots crunching through the underbrush. Michael? Michael Harper? You're back, huh? It was Harold Jenkins, my 68-year-old neighbor who'd been around these hills forever. He was hustling over, red-faced, and glancing around like he expected spies in the bushes. Kid, watch your step with MS. Lang. She's gone power mad since grabbing that HOA president spot last year. Harold whispered the dirt. Victoria Lang had stormed in and turned our laid-back mountain community into a rulebook nightmare. Lawns had to be mowed to exactly 3 inches no more, no less, or face fines. House paint needed board approval. Meetings were quarterly at best, and trash bins out a day early. $50 gone. Word was, she'd been booted from her last neighborhood after her ex-husband skimmed funds. Now, she was overcompensating, ruling like a queen bee. As Harold talked, I remembered a faded note from Grandpa Jack in his old oak chest. Never let them control the spring, son. Remember that. I'd always thought it was just folksy wisdom about independence. Now, staring at that lock, it hit like a warning from beyond the grave. I tried to stay cool. I am not one for hot-headed outbursts. I think things through. So, I figured I'd just cut the damn lock off my own pump and sort the HOA crap later. But Victoria had been lurking. Before I could even fetch the bolt cutters from my truck, her sharp voice pierced the air. What on earth do you think you're doing? She charged up, phone in hand, smirking like she'd caught a thief. I've already dialed the cops. You can't vandalize HOA property. She was in her mid-50s, impeccably dressed in yoga pants she'd probably never sweated in, hair sprayed stiff, exuding that entitled vibe that makes your blood boil. Ma'am, this is my land, my pump. I started, keeping my tone even. But she steamrolled me. Wrong. This is shared infrastructure under HOA management. You're breaking half a dozen rules. 15 minutes later, deputies rolled up. Victoria put on an Oscar-worthy show, claiming I was unhinged, a threat to everyone, like I was some raging intruder instead of a guy wanting his tap to run. The cops were polite but hassle-averse. They suggested I comply to avoid drama. I ended up forking over $250 in reactivation, fees, and signing a pledge to follow her edicts. Humiliated didn't cover it. In my frustration, I snapped at the officers. I'll prove she's dead wrong about all this. Big mistake that gave her ammo to spin me as a menace. That night, rage kept me awake. I dove into HOA Doc's online pages of nonsense. $75 for overgrown weeds, $100 for guest parking over 2 days. Missing a meeting meant losing voting rights for months. The rules were a maze, vague enough to trap anyone. Around dawn, I rummaged deeper in Grandpa's chest and hit gold. A 1967 map and receipt for drilling the spring $200 back then, a fortune. The map showed it smack on our plot, not shared. No way. If true, the whole community's water came from my land, courtesy of Grandpa's goodwill. Harold dropped by next morning with bitter coffee and more tea. Victoria was bad-mouthing me, saying I was unstable. She had a luxury chalet development tied to her cousin's firm big bucks if she cleared out troublemakers like me. I measured boundaries against modern surveys. It checked out. But I needed ironclad proof. Enter Edgar Monroe, ex-HOA head from the 80s, a meticulous retiree turned recluse since losing his wife. I trekked to his tidy cottage at the hill's edge, knocking nervously. Mentioning Grandpa Jack softened him. Jack was salt of the earth, he said, ushering me in. His den was a paperwork shrine. Over tea, he confirmed, Grandpa funded the spring solo in '67. Let folks tap in for free on a verbal deal. No legal handover to the HOA ever. Legally, Michael, that spring's yours. Jack trusted neighbors to play fair. Mind blown. Victoria's empire ran on my family's kindness. I mulled it over, then emailed the community anonymously with the facts. Disaster. She traced it, fired back calling me a fraudster with fake docs and delusions. Forums lit up. Derek Thompson ranted about my threats. Patricia Evans left voicemails doubting me. Even Harold wavered. It crushed misolated in the home I cherished. Then, digging revealed Victoria's pattern. Sophia Reynolds, a hard-working widow who'd questioned fee hikes, got smeared as erratic until she sold out and fled. Died of a stroke soon after, stress-fueled, per her son. Victoria was a predator. I lawyered up with Rebecca Vaughn, a sharp property expert. She verified everything through county records. Meanwhile, Victoria ramped up. Her attorney, Harlan Brooks, sent bullying letters accusing defamation. Rumors flew I'd been axed from jobs for instability. Lies. She threatened barring me from the access road, stranding me. An impromptu HOA huddle at Derek's excluded me. They voted to restrict my road use. Patricia flip-flopped. Michael, show real proof. Doubt crept in maybe I was overreacting? But Patricia's offhand mention of Sophia clicked. Same playbook. Harold filled gaps. Sophia grilled finances, got hounded out. Dead 6 months later. This wasn't petty. It was vicious. Rebecca called triumphantly. Docs authenticated. Court day arrived, tense as a thriller. Brooks painted me as schemer. Rebecca countered with surveys, receipts. Judge Harlan paused for notary checks 24-hour delay. Panic. But Edgar stormed in with originals, notarized. Ownership stays with Harper's. Usage conditional on respect. Verdict, mine. For $1,000 damages. HOA hands off. In the hush, I stood. I won't deny water to families, but no more exploitation. Victoria resigns in a week, or I restrict access. Court exploded. She raged, but law backed me. 7 days later, dawn, I shut the main valve. Calls flooded. Derek's baby needed formula. Mrs. Olson, 82, her meds. Heart-wrenching, but Necessarito exposed the tyranny they'd ignored. By afternoon, neighbors hauled buckets from the creek, eyes opening. Derek apologized. We let her bully you while we hid. Patricia unearthed Sophia's file-identical smears. Victoria drove her to death. Guilt spread. Emergency meeting at the community hall. Patricia rallied. We've enabled a monster. Vote. 44-3 oust Victoria. Audit launched. $25,000 siphoned to her cousin's biz. Embezzlement charges loomed. Edgar, new prez, inked a fair deal. $120 monthly community-wide. Cheaper than alternatives, with anti-abuse clauses. I restored flow except Victoria's. She lugged jugs, showered miles away, seething. A plaque at the spring, Harper Spring, 1967. Generosity triumphs over greed when defended. Months on, her indictment hit. I testified. Community thrived open, neighborly. Grandpa's legacy? Stronger. Quiet power wins. Justice simmers, but strikes hard. Was shutting off the water too extreme? Even if it exposed a killer bully? Should victims always fight back, no matter the collateral? Or does power corrupt everyone eventually? Drop your hot takes below. Did I go too far? Like if you've battled a HOA tyrant, comment your war stories, and subscribe for more real-life showdowns that spark debate.